Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to me to be here. I try to translate some concepts about the ventilation. I know that is a great day today, a lot of information, but I would like to start my presentation ask to the AI, what about the AI think about the outlook of environment controller house system for India? When I ask this question for ChatGPT, Copilot, or every tools that you can find the internet, this is their answer for India. This is your future. Your poultry house in any years, maybe 10 years, 12 years, 50 years, no matter. One day, this situation will arrive here. We have robots, we will have drone. But what about the bad news? It's not tomorrow. For tomorrow, we need to ensure the basic. The basic always is the basic. I have other bad news to you. I'm not here to tell you how do you should do the thing. I'm here, it's explain why. Our goals here is not to teach you how to do the things. Our goal is here is to teach you why things should be done. There are three basic principles for a modern poultry house. The first one, we need to correctly calculate all the equipments, all the system. How many fans do you need to have? How many heating systems do you need to have? How large you need to put your paddy cooling? The second one, correctly install the equipment once it has been properly dimensioned. The last one is operate all systems correctly. This is the great challenge around the world. Ventilation is a science. It is studied as much as any other area, such nutrition, genetics, animal health. There are concepts within ventilation engineer that must be applied in practice to ensure the comfort and welfare of the birds. Once applied correctly, the performance of the animals will be better, reflecting in the financial gains for the grower and your company. All 100 concepts that Cargill found is from University of Georgia with engineer Michael Kizarik. This is the best one. The Mister has more than 400 studied, published in our page. You can check. What type of poultry will be produced? Pullet. What about pullet? Pullet, we need to control the lighting. The question is, what about the light traps? What type of light traps you need to put in your poultry house? Breeder house. Of course that you have a lot of things that we need to consider in pullet, in breeder house. But in breeder house, what about the nest? It's a collective nest or communal nest? How much can this influence ventilation? This is part of your decision. Or broiler house. Today, I will talk with you about the ideal, in my opinion, poultry house for India. It's the question that I have to you. How many kilos per square meter do you want to produce? Because this is important to know, because the answer determines how much air speed we need to have inside your poultry house. Other question that we need to know, where will these birds be raised? In which part of the planet will these birds be found? In Brazil? In India? What are the climate characteristics? Is it cold? Is it hot? Or both? But it's my first time in India. I hope to go back here soon. For this, I take the information about the city that I am, Hyderabad. When we start to investigate, I can find a lot of information. This is the last 20 years information about your condition. But what it means here? Three information. Forgot the average. We needed to think in extreme. The first question is, what is the cold situation that Hyderabad have? The last 20 years, I can see 60 degrees is the cold situation that you have outside. The second question is, what about your maximum temperature? Again, in Hyderabad, the last 20 years, we found around 38 degrees. And what about your relative humidity? Around 80%. One time that you know this, we should be prepared for the initial. Your heating system should be prepared when you are with 6 degrees. Because this baby chicken needs around 30, 32 degrees in the first day. But when you are in final phase, a big broiler, we needed to think when you are with 38 degrees. Again, think in extremes, no average. What about lost heat and heat gain? When you are in the first week, second week, you need to create a heating. How much heat does poultry house lose during the cold weather? What happens when we have 60 degrees outside, but you need to keep 30 degrees inside the house? How much lose the heat from the house? The other question is, when you are with a big broiler and you have 38 degrees outside, how much heat does poultry house gain during the hot weather? When you start to design a tunnel ventilation house, you need to consider 3 criteria basics. Again, we need to think that you have a big broiler, like 2.5 kilos, and outside condition, you are with 38 degrees. The first thing, we need to remove the total heat from the house. For to do this, adequate air exchange. The second one, we need to remove the bird heat. We need to put the proper air velocity on the birds. The birds produce heat all the time. And the three, we need to reduce the incoming air temperature. We need to proper inlet air temperature. Remember, outside is hot, 36, 37, 38 degrees. We can have this temperature inside the house. For this reason, we should put pad cooling system. The first one, we need to remove the total heat from the house. How? Quick exchange of air from inside the house with fresh air from outside. If not done, the temperature difference will occur between the ends of the tunnel inlets and exit of the house. The ideal is to keep maximum 3 degrees between the tunnel inlet to the fence. The second, we need to remove the bird heat. This is the same birds. The difference here is the air speed. This picture, we are around 400 feet per minute. Look at the birds. Look at all flock. It's yellow, it's hot. The birds are painting. When I increase the air speed to 400 feet per minute to 800 feet per minute, again, the same birds. Look at the birds. The birds, 40 minutes after, stop painting. But look at all the flock. All the flock now, it's not more a yellow color because you put the correct air speed inside the house. If the air velocity is not adequate, the birds will experience heat stress and painting. This is not a good business for us because you increase your feed consumption, you decrease your body weight, you impact of the animal health. What about the wind chill? What about the temperature versus air speed? When you are with a bird, 2.5 kilos, the body weight, the effective temperature for this bird, like genetics said, is around 21, 20 degrees. The birds need to feel this temperature, around 21, 29 degrees. When you are with 29 degrees, the air temperature cross the body, the birds, with a 600 feet per minute, it's the same that 3 meters per second, we can reduce the wind chill around 8 degrees. But the bird doesn't know this because your controller show you 29 degrees. 29 degrees, less 8 degrees, yes, the birds feel 21 degrees. This is wind chill. The third part, we need to reduce the incoming air temperature using pad cooling system. We want to reduce between 5 to 8 degrees the temperature of the incoming air. Remember, you are with 38 degrees. You cannot to put 38 degrees inside your house. Remember, you can reduce around 8 degrees. 38 degrees less 8 degrees, 30 degrees. The birds need to feel 20, 21 degrees. Now we need to understand what about the heat production. The heat production, the total heat absorbed by a house is the sum of the heat that enters through the ceiling, side wall, end wall, the birds, and the light. The sum of this is the total heat that produces inside your poultry house. When you see a normal picture for the roof, for the ceiling, no matter. But when you use the infrared, we can see that in this moment, when you have 38 degrees outside your poultry house, your ceiling are 50 degrees radiating inside the house. Part of your ventilation needed to remove heat from the ceiling. The other thing is the end house. When you have the traditional end house, like a block, the concrete block, we have 45 degrees inside the house, radiating inside the house. When you have the curtain, we have almost 40 degrees radiating inside the house. When I have a traditional poultry house without isolation, like a curtain, 40% the total heat is the ceiling that produces. Remember, 50 degrees we had in the ceiling. If you don't protect this, all the heat come on from the inside the house. But what about when we are in the cold weather? When do you need to keep the birds heating because you are using your heating system, 21% you lose the heating from the ceiling. The final day, this is a poultry house with 60 meter wide. This side I have 28 degrees, 60 meter. After I have 40 degrees. 12 degrees between one side by side. And remember, outside is around 38 degrees. Why happened this? Because we don't have isolation. It's important you consider isolation or poultry house. The concept behind the thermal isolation is that you need to isolate the external variables that can interfere the control of the environment. When the days are hot, the hot stay outside. When you are the cold days, that the cold days keep outside the house. For use the thermal isolation, I use a value. The R value is a measure of the thermal resistance. The temperature difference through a thermal isolator. Yes, you need to put some material that isolate outside condition that you want to have inside condition. The higher the value, the better the isolation efficiency. Here is the same thing. This is the first thing that you should to protect. Remember, 40% the heat come on from the ceiling when you don't have isolation. 50% the lost heat when you need to keep warm the environment, you lost the ceiling. The first thing that you need to have in your poultry house is protect your drop ceiling. Here, I show you two models. I put the curtain or a rigid drop ceiling. This is the principal materials that you use, like isolation. The value that you see is the air value per inch. The principal material that you use above the drop ceiling is fiberglass or cellulose. In my opinion, in India, you should have around R10, R15 maximum the R value in your drop ceiling. If you use the fiberglass gives us 3.14 R value per inch. If you put 4 inch, it's mathematical. 3.14 times 4 inch, you have the final day R13. Okay, I'm good. What about the other option that you can put? You can put the extruded polystyrene. It's like a sandwich panel. It's like an ISO panel. There are some countries that use this, like South Africa. South Africa uses this material. It's rigid. It's not like a curtain. Above the curtain you put the fiberglass. This is different because the isolation is between the outside and the inside. The R value is around a 5 per inch. Again, if you put 2 inches times the value, the final day you have complete with R10. This is the 2 options that you can put in India. The second thing that you should to protect is your side wall. In my opinion, you should have a solid wall. But solid wall around R5, R10, we don't need to have R15 because I show you the principal part that you need to protect is the ceiling. Again, in my opinion, we can use the sandwich panel, the ISO panel. This is the material between the 2 parts. We can put the solid wall and the same 2 inch. 5 times 2 inch, the final day you are with R10 in your sidewall. What about the curtain? The curtain is without isolation and you have a problem with leakage. Remember, when you are with a baby chicken and you need to keep around 30 degrees, but outside are 60 degrees, is 60 degrees come on in the litter. When you are a big birds and you have 38 degrees are come on from the leakage. This is a modern poultry house. It's a resume. It's important to have pad cooling system. It's important to have tunnel fan, of course, and sidewall inlets. It's totally important you have sidewall inlets. Because sidewall inlets, I can do the first, the second mode ventilation. Minimum ventilation and transition ventilation. Explore when you are with young birds. But you need to understand, what about cold? Cold is not 0 degrees. Cold, it can be 20 degrees. Remember, the baby chick needs to feel 30 degrees. If outside is 20 degrees, it's cold. What about the heating? We need to put the correct floor temperature. Why? Because this is the contact surface of the birds with the environment. Great exchange of your body temperature with the environment. We have a different types of heating. we have radiant, or you have a conventional, but the proposed of the written system is to promote a minimum of 32 degrees on the cold days on the year, in the liter. It's important. And again, hot air is light. It will always be in the upper part of the house. We needed to take advantage of this air and place it at the higher of the birds and the litter. It to keep 37 degrees, it to put in the litter. For to do this, you should to have sidewall inlets. If you don't have sidewall inlets, it's impossible to do minimum ventilation and transition ventilation. The principle of sidewall inlets is prepare the cold air coming from outside. Remember, the outside is heavy in humidity. We needed to condition this air, mix this cold air with the warm air that is in the upper part of the poultry house. Look, when you are a higher condition, like a relative humidity and lower temperature, when the air enters the house, the air loses relative humidity, but gain temperature. This is the minimum ventilation. The minimum ventilation should enter the house with higher pressure, because the purpose of the minimum ventilation is to put the coldest air mixing with the warm air and go out with fans. Again, look, in this moment the air increases 20 degrees, 23 degrees, 24, 26, 27, 28. The air, when go until the center of the house, the air gain temperature. If it gain temperature, lose the relative humidity. The resume, for India, we needed to have a good poultry house, a modern poultry house, with a solid wall, with an isolation system, with a correct air speed, with a correct isolation system, and with correct heating system. The conclusion, applying the concepts of ventilation science and engineer according to the temperature extreme, hot and cold, as well as the type of bird to be produced. A poultry house that operates in 3 ventilation modes is essential: minimum ventilation, transition ventilation, and tunnel ventilation. Thermal isolation, tightness, and a specific calculation of all systems will be essential for the ideal house from India. Once the system has been dimensioned, the installation must be suitable for the correct operation of the calculating system. This part is everything. Thank you so much.